but Rakesh Sinha, it's all very well to, in a way, pitch English language as part of this colonial mindset which has been built. But the truth of the matter is English is aspirational. Everyone wants to send their children to English medium schools, and you can easily achieve a balance. You can easily get the best of indigenous education and also have English. It's about values. It's not about what language you speak, but the kind of values you espouse. So if you espouse the values of Manu, then surely you have no place in this new India, surely.
Before coming to this question, you raised that the Dalit liberation and English helped that. Jyotiba Phule was not well versed in English. Narayan Guru was not well versed in English. These two people had worked in a very vitalized the Dalit progress and empowerment. So don't give credit to the English language for the empowerment of the Dalits. In fact, English had been.
Suraj is nodding. Just a minute. Suraj is shaking his head, and Shruti, you don't agree with that? That here
it's
is
not
Rakesh
factually
Sinha saying,
correct. It's not factually correct, but that's okay.
Let me complete. Yes. And I'm also surprised that you are reducing Prime Minister's speech to just an English language. He has not opposed the English language. What he wants to say that there should be progress of the Indian languages, the heritage we have in the Indian languages. And I'm also surprised at Aditya Mukherjee's version. He's just creating a politics in Prime Minister's philosophy of decolonization. He's rejecting, in fact, the entire subalterns school, their comrades. Homi Bhabha, Gayatri Chakravarti SP Bhak, all of the people saying that Orientalist later on the post-colonial discourse, that they are emphasizing that the progress of the idea is not possible unless until the local languages are given importance. It is not the question of India, it is the question of the world
so you're saying unlike
one language,
Japan,
one province.
You're saying unlike Japan,
Europe is not the globe.
Okay, you know, Shruti Kapila, unlike a Japan or a South Korea, and these were examples, just a minute, sir. No, just a minute.
Three people are...
No, they're not against you. It's not three against one.
Please. Give me time or I should...
No, 1 minute, sir.
You give me time. Four people are speaking the same way, raising various issues.
They're not. You finish your point. I'll give you 30 seconds more. Go ahead. Complete your view.
No, what I want to say that for the last more than 7 decades, our heritage, even our manuscripts remain untranslated, not translated. They're not read. We have the almost 1 crore manuscript. 1 lakh Indian manuscripts are outside the country. It is the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is doing. I'm giving just one example. I'm finishing what is it. Mohan Ranade was arrested in Goa Mukti Andolan. He was sent to, by Nehruvian regime, during that regime, he was sent to the Lesman and for 25 years prison. And we have liberated or freed 3,700 Portuguese army. We have not asked for Mohan Ranade. So this is the question of the decolonization of mind. When we say that we should stand our own legs, this does not mean we should reject the Europe. This does not mean we should reject the English. We have the common ground. We have the equal footing.
I've heard you. Let Shruti Kapila respond. You see, there could be a point in what both Rakesh Sinha are suggesting that, look, Japan, Korea, China, these are examples the Prime Minister gave, that they have pride in their local language of a level that we don't have in this country. There are those who say even local histories was changed by the British to suit their imperial agenda, and therefore this is a process of course correction. What the Prime Minister is doing is a process of course correction. Do you agree?
I haven't, I'm afraid, heard the Prime Minister's speech, but I think this is a long-standing debate in scholarship. This is a debate that has been raging for as long as colonization. So, I mean, there will be, new interpretations. I think today, the question is what next? I do think every generation must, as it were, grapple with the imperial past, make something of it, and how they may, it's interesting that Professor Sinha wants to sort of lump the British with the Nehruvian elite, as well as say, Professor Mukherjee, who, like Bipin Chandra, would argue that what was special about the Indian educated elite of that generation was actually to become a nationalist elite, which was to say not to do the bidding of the empire. Now, there's a really long-standing debates about what do you do with the English language, but there is no getting away from the fact that English is the language of power. It is the language of mobility. It is the language, therefore, also of aspiration. The question today is that there is something that has happened with globalization, in which, whether it is China, you mentioned China, but there is a critique of, as it were, Western liberalism that first comes from actually Chinese intellectuals, which I think 10 years later, we are seeing similar debates coming up in India. And I think there is and finally, I just want to say that there is a global antipathy to liberal metropolitan elites. I mean, that's the case now in Britain. That is the case in America. So I think that those issues are, as it were, I think global, and they speak to the crisis or a turning point in liberal democracy. They're not simply about what happened to the British Empire, what Macaulay did, or what the English language means. It can be no one's case that this is malevolent hypocrisy when people are teaching their children, getting their children educated in English, to then now insist on a language which is not going to lead to mobility. It is not the language of global science. It is not the language of global governance. So why would you want to take one major skill that Indians actually have? And as Suraj has pointed out, and many others have pointed out, Indian English is its own thing. I mean, we have totally recolonized it as our own language, with its own diction, with its own meaning, even its own grammar. So I don't understand what this debate is. I actually don't understand what the debate is. There's not much disagreement. But there is a Sinha.
There is a political.
English is not the.
Yeah, go ahead, Rakesh. Go ahead.
Yes, it is just merely advocacy of English in post-colonial societies. You go to France, there is no English. You go to Australia, there's a different kind of English. You go to China, not one country. You are targeting the post-colonial societies. You want to grab them and keeping them under the shade of the European hegemony. We want to liberate ourselves from the hegemony of the Western scholars.
I've heard both of you. Let Suraj, let Aditya and Suraj also get a chance. Aditya Mukherjee, you were not just a minute. I'll give you time. Aditya Mukherjee, you were shaking. No, sir, 1 minute.
No, one question. Let me raise the one question. I'm raising just a question, not I'm giving a lecture. I'm raising the question. Yes, there is English. English is your advocacy of English. I accept that. But just tell me what English has contributed in the Indian social sciences, except writing textbooks.
Okay, let Aditya Mukherjee respond to
any
that.
fundamental work we
sir, you put a direct question.
What is the contribution of English?
Aditya Mukherjee, what has English contributed? What is the contribution of English to social sciences? And is this a wider crisis of liberal democracy, as Shruti Kapila suggests, that the Prime Minister is reflecting the rise of a new kind of an elite, challenging the old elite? This is a battle of two elites, a new elite versus an old elite.
The Prime Minister, apart from talking of the language issue, talked of the removal of the colonial mindset, all right? As I have already said on the language issue, there is no doubt that indigenous languages must also grow, and every anti-imperialist focused on that, from Tilak to Gandhi to just name them, all of them had their newspapers. Tilak had Maratha, Gandhi wrote in Hindi and Gujarati, Naroji had Rast Goftar in Gujarati, and so on and so forth. That's not the only issue. The other issue is the colonial mindset. The biggest colonial mindset, which comes with Macaulay and slightly before Macaulay through James Mill, is that the Indian civilization is divided into two nations, the Hindus and the Muslims. The whole communal ideology emerges from the colonial mindset, right? And that is what is being promoted, and we are not fighting against it. The biggest colonial mindset is to defend imperialism. The module that was made by the NCR Partition Horrors Day just 2 months ago, in that they give a clean chit to the British, saying that the British wanted to leave a united India right through, and the chief culprit.
you again make value. That's a, it's
This is the
interesting,
colonial mindset.
the
What we need
ironies
to
and the
do is
hypocrisies.
colonial mindset.
Okay, I want to give Suraj
Debate
the.
and
Let,
anti-Modiism
let,
is his
let,
agenda.
no, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1
Very
minute.
important
Rakesh.
issue we are
No, no,
debating, Mr. Aditya Mukherjee.
I
We are not
want
debating.
Suraj Yengde put the volume
You
down.
are
Suraj,
reducing-
you should get the final word. Suraj, the final word. Is this a wider debate between the old elites and the new elites? And in some way, a debate that should be had. Nothing wrong with it.
I think it is, and it's a very enriching conversation, Rajdeep. This panel itself is quite diverse, and I agree in a way that I am also in favor of going back to the native roots. But the point is, where is that anchor? Where is that core that we are going to find out? And Rakesh had incorrectly stated that Phule was not well versed in English. I mean, his commissions and all were written in English. Though I take his point, I think it's what he is really pointing out, which is really the challenge that the post-colonial elites brought forth, which is the whole project of decolonization, and now the right world over is claiming on to the idea of decolonization. My reservations with these debate is, what do we do with the existent topography of language and knowledge that is there? Now, if you ask anybody, what medium of instructions would you send your child into, anybody, and this is me talking, in Nanded, for example, and they would most likely say English language. I'll tell you an example. At Harvard, I met a student who was enrolled in an English studies department, and he was from Karnataka, and he was taking lessons in Karnataka in Kannada language at Harvard. And because his education, though he grew up in Karnataka in one of those posh boarding schools, and I looked at it and I was like, how tragic that is. But that is what this new elite has provided us and really made us look inferior. And what happens is the standards of English that we are measuring against each other, and here the citation of Fanon is really important, and I'm amazed, how that Fanon gets appropriated and smacked on the face. We really need to think about, what does this culture of language give us as an outcome?
Right.
What I think it essentially does is that if we are able to decolonize and de-brahminize, if we are able to sanitize this with the elements of this aristocratic elite, as well as the complicits, the satraps that were here, 565 princely states existed, they were in British suzerainty. What kind of decolonization are we talking about? So these people, for nearly 200 years, were in the protection, who are now reclaimed as nationalist heroes. That history is so messier, and everybody almost who were complicit ruling class have their hands in bloods, not just the British.
That's a wonderful way to put it there, Suraj. And I think you've given us, as have all our panelists, a debate which has truly enlightened us. I hope to see many more such debates on television, done without noise and done without confrontation. Because I think the genius of this country is its ability to assimilate different ideas and then move forward. Not necessarily pit Modi versus Macaulay, as we started at the outset within the debate, but find ways in which we can achieve the best of the old order and the best of the new order and take that forward.